Skibitsky, and welcome to this special edition of Hometown. Thank you for joining TV 36. I'm at 425 North Avenue East, the new field office for recently sworn-in Congressman Leonard Lance. Congressman, welcome to Westfield.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
And it's great that you have a field office here in Westfield.
I'm pleased to be in Westfield. On purpose, we wanted an office here in Union County, and we're very pleased to be able to have chosen an office in Westfield.
Well, Congressman, today there's a lot of things I'd like to cover with you. I think, I'd like to talk about your background and your transition from Trenton to D.C. and the inauguration, which must have been very exciting, and of course the stimulus package. It's Saturday, February 7th, and apparently the Senate just reached a deal. They haven't voted on it yet, and so I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. So we have about 30 minutes, and so why don't we just start a little bit about your background.
I live in Hunterdon County, where I've lived my entire life, and Hunterdon County is one of those counties that borders Pennsylvania and the Delaware River. And this congressional district stretches from Hunterdon County east to Somerset County and to Union County and to Middlesex County. And I was raised in Hunterdon County. I attended public schools there, a little grade school, 4-room grade school, Glen Gardner Grade School. Glen Gardner is a town of under 1,000 people when I was raised there. And then I went to the public high school, North Hunterdon Regional High School comprising, at that time, 11 municipalities in northern Hunterdon County. And then I went off to college and law school and graduate school, and I came back to Hunterdon County to make my life. I served for Governor Tom Kean in his administration as an assistant counsel, working in his legal shop. Mm-hmm. And then I was elected to the General Assembly in 1991. And Andy, I had brown hair when I was elected to the General Assembly. And I served there for about a decade, 11 years. And then in 2001, I was elected to the State Senate. I was honored to serve as the minority leader in the State Senate for 4 years. And then last year, when Congressman Ferguson decided to retire, I ran for Congress and was honored to be elected to Congress for really central New Jersey, beginning last month, January of 2009.
You're actually a third-generation Lance has served New Jersey.
Yes, my late father served in our state legislature, and he was at one point the president of the state senate, and he had an uncle, a great uncle of mine, who also served in the legislature. And in the 19th century, we had ancestors who served in capacities in Hunterdon County government. I'd like to say that I guess we never had any gumption to move anywhere else. Our family has been in Hunterdon County a long time, and certainly we enjoy it out there. But I'm deeply honored to represent Westfield and suburban Union County in the Congress of the United States.
Well, that's great. And you have a master's in public administration from Princeton University?
Yes, a master's in public affairs from Princeton, okay, from the Woodrow Wilson School at Princeton, and I did my undergraduate work at Lehigh, and I have a law degree from Vanderbilt, and I met my wife at Vanderbilt. My wife is an attorney as well, and we have a 21-year-old son who is a junior at the University of Wisconsin. I'd like to say that my wife's family is sort of Big Ten crazy. She and her brother went to Northwestern, and her late father, this young man's grandfather, played football for the University of Michigan. Wow. They are very much interested in Big Ten football, and all I know is they have this irrational dislike for Ohio State that I don't understand, because Ohio State's a great university, but I think it's a rival, particularly of Michigan and Wisconsin,
absolutely,
in football.
Absolutely. Well, before we talk about the transition from being a state senator to being a U.S. congressman, why don't you talk about the inauguration? Because I know you were there. Must have been fascinating. Must have been a phenomenal time. I've said about the president, he certainly picked a difficult time to become president, and you picked a difficult time to be a congressman with everything that's happening, not only in the U.S., but throughout the world.
The inaugural ceremony was an extraordinary event, and I did not really know this, but an inaugural ceremony is a congressional event. It is the Congress of the United States that invites the new president and the new vice president to be sworn into office at the Capitol. And so the event is really sponsored by the legislative branch of government, the Congress of the United States, and the ceremony occurs on the west front of the Capitol. And members of Congress were seated in what I would call the bleachers, right in back of the participants of the ceremony. And so we were about 30 feet or so from the new president, the new vice president, the outgoing vice president. But what was really extraordinary was about 1.5 million people who came for the inaugural ceremony, and they were the full length of the mall. The mall stretches from the Capitol all the way to the Washington Monument, and beyond that to the Lincoln Memorial. And it was a sea of people. I don't think ever again will I participate in a ceremony with so many people. And from our vantage point in the bleachers, we were able to see the enormity and entirety of the crowd.
That must have been amazing.
It was very amazing.
Probably didn't even feel the cold. It was so exciting.
It was cold, but I was sitting next to a new congressman from Florida, Congressman Posey, and he gave me a cap. He had 2 caps, and Mayor, I felt a little embarrassed that he had to give the Yankee the cap to make sure that I was warm enough in those bleachers.
I can see a Floridian was probably more prepared for the cold.
He was better prepared than I was.
Great. Well, tell us a little bit about transition. I mean, now you have to have 2 homes, one here in Hunterdon County, and one in D.C., and of course the office transition and hiring a staff and learning all the rules and regulations and serving on new committees. How's that gone?
It's been very interesting, and it is true that when you're in Congress you really have 2 residences. Our principal residence will remain here in New Jersey. My wife is going to continue to live primarily at our farmhouse, which is located in Clinton Township in Hunterdon County. But I have rented an apartment in Washington. I don't know whether I will try to buy a modest condo or not, but I am in Washington most days of the week. I go down on Monday and I come back either Thursday evening or Friday. And I can do that by train from Washington to Metro Park, or from Washington to Trenton, and sometimes I drive. It's about a 3.5-hour drive. We are setting up the office here, obviously, in Westfield, and then my office in Washington is at 114 Cannon Office Building, which is one of the House office buildings. I was lucky in the office draw. There is a lottery for freshmen, and I drew 12th out of 54, which I thought was pretty good. Never having won the New Jersey lottery, I was anxious of my draw in Washington, but I was very pleased, and it is a convenient location. And I hope, Mayor, that as many constituents as possible will be able to visit me. It is obviously a public office. The public is welcome not only to the Westfield office, but the office in Washington as well.
Well, I was just happened to be down in D.C. first week in January on business, and happened to do a tour of the Capitol. And there's, of course, a new visitor center there, which is beautiful. Yes. And it's been many, many years since I've been inside the Capitol. Yeah. But once you're in there, it's just you start thinking about the history of the United States. It's pretty unbelievable.